Hello. So for today, I'm actually recording this on the 21st of March, 2025. To be quite honest, I thought today was the equinox, spring equinox. It was yesterday. Yeah, that's just sort of how these days have been going lately for me. But yeah, if anyone engaged in any sort of ritual or celebration, honoring, offering, all the above, none of the above, I'm hearing like click, click, click. So yeah, when you find this, things may feel like they're starting to click into place, or maybe you're stepping into that. For this particular recording, I did not have, generally I have things written down to go on, but for this I do not. So I'm just going to continue tapping in and see what flows in as well. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, because I just recorded the Lyra Glitch Gates liminal space transmission. By the way, I do have on a subliminal in the background, and I'm around 2 cats and a dog, so you may hear some animal noises from time to time. Okay, so yeah, I recorded on Patreon the overflow for the Lyra Glitch Gates, and I only got maybe halfway through some of the Ascension Glossary readings that I wanted to continue with, so I'm going to just sort of tune into that transmission and continue on and see what wants to come through. The cat that I'm sitting with right now is basically climbing my body and purring really loudly, so she is really fun, like a puppy in a cat's body. Not that cats cannot be fun on their own, but yeah. Okay. She also sounds a little bit like a bird sometimes. I forget who it was, but I remember someone saying have you ever noticed that cats can sound like birds? I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but cats I'm pretty sure hunt birds sometimes, right? So it's interesting that they can also mimic a sound like them. I wonder if that's some sort of hunting survival type of thing. If anyone knows, please feel free to comment on that. I've never thought of that before, but it just popped in. Of course, we could go through some of the symbolism of the spring equinox. Fertility, rebirth. Most times entering spring always feels like some sort of new beginning. I feel like a lot of people are pretty familiar with this already, so I don't know that I need to go too deep into that, but I was sort of reminded of you may be seeing doves, or doves may be a symbol, important symbol or sign for you. But I'm also noticing orchids. There's orchids where I'm staying. So orchids could also be something for someone. I'm not sure of the orchid symbolism, so I'm looking it up. With its sophisticated charm, I feel like I said that word weird, charm, The orchid, especially in white, signifies the pursuit of spiritual perfection. Other meanings of this captivating flower include purity of thoughts, endurance, and inner fortitude, the qualities that mirror the spiritual odyssey toward enlightenment. Oh, interesting. So, the word purity, purification has been coming through quite a bit lately. So I'm not surprised that that came through right now, but I can't stop thinking about this dream that I had last night, so I may weave this in. I wasn't really planning on talking about it, but my left ear just started to like pressure shift as I said that. In the dream, it was basically I want to make sure that I say this with like proper, as precise as I can. Okay, so first, the place that I was staying, I was in like a smaller, I want to say like a town or like almost like a village, and I was somewhere in like Central or South America, and there was a kiln, like someone was doing pottery, and when the pottery came out, or the clay pottery, it was so hot. Like there was like an emphasis on the heat of the clay pottery. And I just looked it up, and pottery in dreams can reflect overall happiness. So it's really interesting because, like I said, it was so hot, like you couldn't even touch, like the person who took out the pottery was like emphasizing, like, do not touch this, you will get burnt, kind of thing. I don't want to put too much interpretation on that part yet, because I think it's going to like weave through. I think it's pretty multifaceted in terms of like what this can mean. Of course, when I think of like extreme heat like that, you know, it's funny because my thumb kept tingling, my left thumb, which the thumb for me represents the fire element. So before I even was talking about this, so yeah. I'm being taken to multiple things, but I'm feeling like, you know, the idea of what some people refer to as like Kundalini rising, the phoenix symbolism of course, burning, and then the ashes, and then the rise or the rebirth of that. So this kind of feels like, yeah, I just heard like burn it all down. So some of me have been going through this process, you know, death and rebirth. And then, of course, whenever you're finding this, it's timeless. But at this current juncture of entering into spring in the Northern Hemisphere, and then, of course, in the Southern Hemisphere, fall. So wherever you are, you can take that. But this, like, signifying of, like, that next phase, you know, which is something that's been coming through a bit. But the interesting aspect to this is reflecting the overall happiness. And I do remember that there was nothing inside of the pots, of the clay pots. So to me, this feels like, you know, an empty vessel, like a time to start filling these metaphorical pots with, you know, what. It's not even about like chasing happiness. It's like literally creating happiness. And yeah, interesting. Now, the reason why I was like hesitant to talk about the rest of the dream is because it was talking about certain people in leadership roles, I guess you can say, particularly in like the healing arts arena, who sort of present one way, and then behind closed doors there's like stories of how they show up. And I've heard a lot of people say this, like they look to people, and it's almost like that expression, like when you spend time with your mentors, or not your mentors, when you spend time, there's like a saying, when you spend time with your, what's the other word for, not a mentor, but your people that you admire. Oh my God, there's a word and I cannot think of it. It's like, most people say like, yeah, don't meet your like heroes because you'll be disappointed kind of thing. I don't know why this is coming through, but I've had dreams about this stuff for years now. And it's something like, I heard someone speaking of, like from a higher ascension mechanics perspective, or Galactic science, or even anthroposophy, different ideologies. There's, like the light and the dark, the ascension and descension, the rise and the fall, and the Christ pulse or the antichristic pulse. And sometimes like what I'm trying to say is like, things aren't always so black and white, like sometimes someone can embody both of those polarities, and it can be a little bit confusing to navigate, especially when you're in a space of vulnerability and looking for, like seeking of any form. So to be quite honest, I'm not exactly sure why this is coming up right now, or what I wanted to say about it, other than addressing it and like just continue. I say this all the time. I feel like, utilizing discernment. And I feel like I'm starting to get sick of saying that, because I don't know, sometimes I say things and I feel like I'm just repeating myself, and I don't mean to do that. But yeah, there's just an emphasis on I want to say, like, even if we experience something, like I can use a personal example. Like I recently was in a situation where from the outside, what do I want to say? It got to a point where I was like, I'm ready. I need to leave here. Like it just didn't feel like it was for the best overall. But I still experienced certain things during that experience that were valuable to me, So it's like, sometimes these things happen, and it's like being able to hold that space for yourself to take what you need and kind of let the rest go is what I'm feeling. And yeah, especially like I said, when and it doesn't have to be like, just in like the metaphysical world of teachings, but it really can be in any area of life, of course. But I think I just noticed, like, it's really easy to confuse or like feel like whatever you're feeling internally is easily dismissed, I guess is what I want to say. And this, this can also apply in other areas of life. Like I just said, I'm hearing the word like retaliation. So in some sort of situation where, you feel like you were a victim in some way or mistreated, and like dealing with not only the stress of the after effects of that, but also any sort of situation that is reinforcing, like to make you almost feel crazy kind of thing. I wasn't expecting any of this to come through, but this just seems to be, and especially like, that it's interesting, like the paradox of the Equinox energy, because it's like I looked it up a million times and sometimes I can't remember specific things. But the Equinox equal day and night, I think is the translation that I saw. So along with this renewal, white rabbits and magic and rebirth and fertility and eggs and purity, comes like the rise of the dark as well, and the shadow. And not that dark and shadow is always, it's not like bad, it's just part of the experience. Yeah. I'm going to just let that sort of sit for a moment. And yeah, I know this is somewhat of a sensitive topic, and I just wanted to bring that up because the dream when I woke up, it was so, oh, excuse me, I'm releasing through the throat. It was so, like, vivid and present, and like, I sort of sat with it for a few moments, and I was like, okay, is this what wants to come through today? And I really wasn't sure, so I just kind of set the intention that if it wanted to come through, to just sort of let it organically weave in. Yeah, okay. And right as I said that, my computer light just like went to dim. Excuse me. So again, that like imagery of like light and shadow, light and dark. Yeah, I'm seeing like yin yang energy type of thing. Okay. And of course, if anyone is experiencing something, you know, if you have any sort of opportunity, or maybe an opportunity will be called in after this moment, or maybe something will appear to you, like, you know, if any of you who are in any sort of like intense or coming out of an intense experience, it feels like there's like a respite, you know, like whether it's a few moments, a few weeks, a few days, a few months, 6 months, a year, it'll be different for everyone, but sort of like a I just keep hearing the word respite. For some of you, like maybe a sabbatical opportunity or a leave of absence from something, like stepping back from a situation, like that's very specific, but I just needed to share what I was seeing. So I wanted to, and like I said, if anyone needs any extra, anything really, just feel free to like comment, or yeah, and I will do my best to check in with you. I wanted to just sort of step into some of the I'm actually just going to take a moment. Both my ears just pressure shifted. It felt like I was being expanded out. So this is just an invitation, if you would like to just, if it's safe for you, of course, to close your eyes for a moment and just take a breath in. And maybe just hold it a little bit. And then just like, quick little cleanse and clear. Yeah, just taking a moment for yourself, for any collectives that you feel connected to. I just heard internal family systems, so maybe someone here has been working with that. I believe it's a cognitive behavioral therapy approach, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, I'm seeing like extinguisher, firefighter, like these type of archetypes, so I'm also seeing Rainbow Road. When I was younger, I used to love playing Mario Kart, and there was this one if you're familiar, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, there's this, like, you can Google it if you want to. There's like this one level called Rainbow Road, and I was like obsessed with Rainbow Road for some reason. And I was just seeing that in my mind's eye, and it was like, from my memory, the the level is like really black, like really dark in the background, and then the road that you drive on is rainbow, hence Rainbow Road. But it's like really challenging. It's like one of the harder levels from my memory. So there's something about like navigating on hard mode through life, you know, through the darkness, you know, quite literally and figuratively and metaphorically, with this rainbow illumination. So I'm also seeing the blue rainbow arc, which I've mentioned before, but I wanted to just tune back into the Ascension Glossary, which I usually read on Patreon, but I'm feeling a little bit guided to just read a little bit. Here. Interesting. I just looked at the timer and it was 21, which today is the 21st when I'm recording this. So I do feel like there's something whenever you find this, like within the day that you find it. I don't love to put timing on things, but it does feel like my left hand just started to tingle. So it's the receiving line. Yeah, it does feel like within a day when you find this something. I'm not getting anything specific. I just really feel like you'll be either receiving something or an inner clarity, a step forward, like something will present itself that will, even if it's like just, not even if just, but it may be like a sign, a synchronicity, a dream, like something that will be receiving and revealing in some way. Yeah, and I'm hearing like not to overlook, even if it seems something super small or super like not life-changing. It's like the next part of the path is showing itself to you. My throat is like leaving as I say that. And I just want to say, anytime I give a timing, like I said, because I really don't love to do that, but I was feeling it really strongly. And I just want you to know, like I hear a lot of people say like, oh, if you don't, you know, X, Y, and Z after this transmission or reading or video or message, basically like you're not doing it right. Like I've heard that so many times, and that's not really how I perceive these things. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm not sure how you feel about stuff like that, but you know, if a day passes and you don't receive something that you thought you were going to, it's kind of like you're being asked to maybe, this isn't for everyone, just, you know, if you feel like you're putting an expectation on something, it's like coming at it and seeing like the Page of Wands in tarot from like a curious, like a curiosity and like a childlike type of exploration. But yeah, just trusting your own timing and refining, like continuing to refine as you go, and to please don't worry. Like if, like I said, a day passes and, you know, sometimes things happen and in like a week you might be like, oh my God, on that day I actually did, you know, see something and now it makes sense. Like sometimes things don't click into place right away. So keep that in mind as well. And you may already know this, but maybe just a reminder. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going through and wanted to just say, I know I'm speaking extremely slowly, so thank you for your patience. Yeah, so I just scanned through, and what popped out to me actually is the phrase harmonic universe. You may hear me say that a lot. Maybe you say that sometimes. Maybe you've heard that phrase. And I just wanted to read from the Ascension Glossary description of the universal time matrix is the first sentence of harmonic universe. And I always say when I'm reading from any source or resource to please, take with a grain of salt. And, I like to always say, like, keep in mind when this was written, things can be just heard the word effervescence. That's not at all where I was going. I was trying to say something completely different. Effervescence. Yeah, I'm getting this like very effervescent type of energy flow, energy glow. And that could be something maybe you're working with. Maybe you really like to drink effervescent beverages. But there's something about effervescence of, it's like that slight bubble, like that just sort of flew in. Perhaps working, I'm getting this like very specific, I'm seeing like two different, like a beaker, in like science experiments, they have like, oh my God, beaker or bleaker? Why am I forgetting this word? I think it's a beaker. I think Bleecker is a street in Brooklyn or New York. Okay, that could be relevant for someone, because I was hearing beaker and bleaker. Okay, so with the effervescence, it's like, I don't know, I'm seeing something about like a chemist, or just the idea of like chemistry, it could be chemistry in a relationship. And each beaker, one is filled with like, both of them have this effervescence and like goldenish, white golden glow. And one of them is a little bit more reddish and one of them is a little bit more pink. So feel free, like if you like to work with visualizations or liquid light, crystalline liquid light, I'm seeing those two effervescent light frequencies coming in. And it's really funny it came in red and pink, because I don't know why my whole life I just genuinely dislike red and pink together. Like, I've never understood why people put red and pink together. And if you like it, like, all the power to you. I just genuinely never liked those two together. I don't know why. So it's really funny that they came in together, because I would not have chosen that. So, oh man, it's funny. And that itself, like sometimes people think they don't want something, or it's like, it's tough because like, of course, always trust yourself, but like, yeah, something that maybe you thought didn't go together might like join forces in some way, kind of like the opposites attract kind of thing. Okay, so I was reading about, I feel like I've been speaking so slowly throughout this whole recording. I always say, feel free to like speed me up if I'm too slow, if you haven't already. Okay, so harmonic universe, the universal time matrix. And if you're familiar with Keylontic science, according to the universal time matrix is 15-dimensional matrix. So if you have like a different perspective, I always welcome that and feel free to share. Excuse me. Is comprised of the 5 density levels that each hold 3-dimensional holographic fields within them, or groups of 3 spectrum of frequency that manifest as platforms of consciousness, perception, and expression. And then it goes and breaks down each of the density levels. So there's been a lot coming through the last few days about like the spheres of, I also just heard the Halls of Amenti, so maybe someone here is working with that. But like spheres within spheres, and like the subtle layers, the subtle bodies, layers of the veil coming back, pulling back, peeling back. So I'm going to read this paragraph about the universal gates. It's under, I will have it linked below, the Ascension Glossary, Arimatina. And I was talking about Arimatina recently, and according to this page, the name Arimatina is the 12th Lyran Stargate and has been used to describe schematics of the future Earth blueprint in its crystalline form in the Avatar Matrix universe. The Aurora or Ascension Earth is located in the Andromedan time matrix, which is found through the passage that interfaces between the Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy, and that is connected through the networks of the Polarian Gate hosting system. Our planet Earth exists in 3 main formed identities in the universal time matrix. 3D Earth is called Earth or Terra, Terra. 5D Earth is called Tara, Tara, and 7D Earth is called Gaia. Different ET races and extra dimensionals may call these future Earths by different names based on their language. They are all planet Earth at different stages of evolution in the timelines. So I wanted to read that because this, like I said, this has been coming through, and when we speak on, like, at least from my perspective currently, different constellations, different, whatever you want to call, interdimensional, extra dimensional, ultra dimensional, there's different like time signatures and evolutions, whether it's Earth, different spheres of Earth, like this universal harmonic universe was speaking on, like these layers of holographic imprints. So yeah, this, I usually dive deeper on Patreon, but I did just want to bring a little bit more of that in, because generally when I get into some sort of like energy check-in, there's weavings together of some of the higher ascension mechanics that come in, and some of like the, you know, in this equinox energy of like equal light and dark. And I'm using those words just because that's what's coming through. But a lot of the, if you want to say like galactic agenda stories that are starting to resurface, I know come through a lot of these like Lyran wars. And if you're not familiar with this, then yeah, please just use your own internal navigation system to see if this lights up anything for you. And I've been really hesitant to talk about this because I feel like I say that a lot. So I'm obviously working through these things. But yeah, and I've mentioned this before, like, I think we're all like figuring things out together, and we have our own perspectives and memories. And I think sometimes a lot of I don't know if I want to use the word mythos, that can be diluted when there's sometimes like misinformation that goes around. It can be a little bit harder to ground some of these topics. And so, yeah, I love the idea of when we connect into the fact that, you know, when we do start getting into things like astral travel and channeling and plant medicine visions and all these different things, you know, there's so much to keep in mind of our own internal connection and consciousness level of how we're perceiving things and how, yeah, so I just wanted to sort of bring this through. And I do go into some more specificities around the connection to Earth and the Andromedan time matrix and the Aurora re-encryption. So if you're interested, or if you have already listened to that, yeah, feel free to like share anything that comes up for you. And in the overflow Patreon of the Lyra glitch gates, I was speaking more about like the stages of evolution and connecting to, I guess more like multidimensional communication and things like this. So I did just want to read the universal gates. Excuse me. The most powerful universal gates in our system, which relate to controlling the operational functions in our time matrix, are those located in the cradle of Lyra. And if you listen to the Lyra glitch gates, I talk about how why I was speaking on Lyra for these transmissions, and how I kept hearing in my head the cradle of Lyra, and then I was seeing like synchronicities connecting through to what I was receiving internally. Yeah. Okay. So 12D. Oh, and I was also hearing in my head Arimatina over and over again. And then when I put in a Google search for the Ascension Glossary, all of this started like linking together through what I was like attracted to certain links. And then when I clicked on them, it was like the different pieces that I was being shown were like connecting dots through these links. So I just wanted to add that in. Okay. Okay, so I left off 12D Arimatina, 11D Avion, and 10D Lyra Vega, along with the 8D Orion gates. So interesting because I just looked through my old notes for video notes, and I had Orion written down for like ever, and I kept meaning to bring and weave in Orion, which I'm sure I have at different points, but I didn't know it was going to come through because I was just looking at that right before I pushed record. The Lyran gates were destroyed during the Lyran Wars, which destroyed the architecture for the Solar Logos Christ body and the universal system. And then the black hole entities went to Orion in order to secure the 8D Metagalactic Core as a military base and AI command control center for themselves. Yeah. Okay, so I want to just sit here for a moment and let that just sort of sink in, because like I said, when we get into some of these like war storylines or timelines, I know like in personal sessions with people it has come up, and at the time I was quite resistant actually to talk about it because you know, if we really think about it, like war exists in our current timeline. I mean, from, you know, unless you're someone who's like, oh, I don't know of any war, and that's okay, that's great, for sure. But there's like an internal, you know, they say like everything's internal first, right? So this like internal connection to this, and if you personally feel like you're like someone who, let's say, came from like one of these future, what we call future timelines, to assist with that, it can be maybe a little bit, I want to say it's like a little bit harder, not harder. You know what? I'm really like editing myself right now, and I'm being honest. So I brought these topics up because they continue to come up, and I don't want to like over dilute the information, and I also want to, I keep being taken back to a book I reference often, Bob Frissell. Nothing in this book is true, but it's how it is, or something like that, the title is. And I feel like he does such a good job of talking about these type of things, and how, you know, some people will say like, especially it gets really messy when we talk about like dimensions, because everyone has a different perspective. I've done a lot of research on this, and if you look at dimensions, I was actually watching, what's that show? The Big Bang Theory. I've never saw like the last episode, and I just like really wanted to see how it ended. So I got the opportunity to watch the last season, and I finished the last episode. And in the last season, Sheldon, if you're familiar, and Amy go into like these deprivation tanks, and it's just so funny because Amy's like stressed out about something, and Sheldon is too, but Sheldon like goes into this like trance like state, and he goes through all these different what does he say, like 22 to like infinite fractals dimensions, and he goes through this like whole like trippy experience, and Amy like basically has her subconscious like screaming at her. So I don't know, I'm being taken exactly to this, but it feels like when we tap into these war timelines, you know, I've heard some people who I really respect as researchers in the metaphysical world, like say that this is just like propaganda, and that, you know, these are like false stories, essentially, to like take us out of our own humanness and things like this. So the middle path always comes back up for me. It's like coming back into that discernment to see like where the truth for, you know, our own highest knowing lies. And I do think that there's a reason that these things continue to come back up. So, you know, whenever I present things like this or talk about it, I just wanted to preface it with like, I'm also doing my best to see what brings truth, and continuing to refine that. So yeah. This at all went places I did not expect. So thank you so much. And if you would like to go dive deeper into the connection of Lyran Stargates, and the focus really right now is on the 11th and 12th, which I actually did not plan. That just really weaved itself together so beautifully that I couldn't even have planned it. The 11th Stargate is the other link that I have open, and then Arimatina is the 12th. And like I said, they came through, and I didn't even realize it was 11 and 12, and here they are. So yeah, we're going to dive deeper into that. I was also really drawn to the Polarian Gate hosting system, and I kept being shown when I asked about anything I needed to know about the equinox, like the Earth's axis, and they say like the axis, actually the perspective of the axis, I've talked about this before, is like shifting back to an original tilt. I don't love the word original, and so yeah, I'll see if anything like that comes through. All right, well, thank you. I also just wanted to, I ended that last recording, and I looked at the clock, and it was 12:12, and the recorder was 43:23, which that number has been coming through so much lately, and that for me is like sacred union integration. And I have some transmissions around like hierogamic templates and sacred union, and so I did just want to add that in because I just got like such intense chills when I said that. So we shall see in the overflow on Patreon if what around that wants to weave itself in, because it just sort of kind of snuck in at the end there. Wow, and I can like, this is so cool. I can literally feel the chills like moving up my body and like internally, like especially within the heart solar pathway. Yeah. Okay, thank you.